Hi, my name is Travis Lindsay. I work as a consultant for the Center for Entrepreneurship. I was previously a professor there in entrepreneurship and did some other things there. But today I am happy to be able to interview one of our former graduates. He graduated with a degree in marketing and now is working in 3 different countries with his family business.
Yes.
Umair, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I think your introduction was quite enough, but yeah, in short, I graduated from Cal State Fullerton in 2015 with my major in marketing. I currently am now part of the family business, which was previously known as Netline Pakistan, but now we've rebranded ourselves as Netline Group of Companies. We have expanded from our little office in Karachi to all over Pakistan. We've gone into the Middle East market. We now have offices in Dubai, and we're pretty soon opening an office in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And we have also a presence in California, in the U.S., in the Los Angeles greater area of L.A., to be more specific, in Corona. I am currently the group managing director of this company. Netline as a group, we're primarily a energy-focused company. We have basically 4 divisions. One being critical power, in which we provide solutions that for any equipment that is critical. In that we provide something that's not very commonly known in the market. It's known as a UPS. It's an uninterruptible power supply. It's a very critical product. It's usually installed in data centers, in the medical industry, MRIs, X-rays, CT scans. It's also installed in the telecom industry, usually at the telecom tower sites that are placed all over that require, uninterruptible power supply. And our second division is providing energy storage, which is basically batteries and a total turnkey storage system for anybody that wants to optimize their energy consumption. The third division of ours is voltage regulation, which is more of a very pretty in-depth engineering term, but basically one of the main issues with power is fluctuation of voltage. So we have a division that just focuses on that, regulating that voltage through servo motors, through static motors. And the last division, which is our most growing division since the last, I would say, 3 years, and it's the division that everyone's talking about these days. It's the quote unquote the hot topic, which is renewable energy, and with the primary focus in solar. So that's our 4th division, which we've been doing this since 2007, even before I joined Netline. But since 2015, when I joined, we built a really, we really focused on this division, and we grew this division. And since the last 3 years, it's caught severe traction. We've seen exponential growth all over the world, even in the South Asia market, in Pakistan, in the Middle East market, and the US market. And that's now our major focus. I think the news that everybody read all over social media, that's I think why we're getting a lot of traction these days, is we recently acquired funding. We were basically a family-owned business since 2000, and I would say in 2021 we were reached out. I mean, we had no idea about this whole this business area of funding and growth and exponential growth and multipliers and XYZ. So we were reached out by this VC company in Pakistan, one of the leading VC companies, and they basically showed us some direction in terms of how we can achieve funding, and we can grow ourselves, and we can exponentially grow on the platform that the group has built. And since then, it's just been, tireless nights, working overtime, traveling all over the world, building business. And yeah, that's pretty much, in short, I've given you I would say the layman introduction to Netline in short.
No, yeah, no, that was great. I mean, I think that's all we need for the interview. I'm kidding. That was a tremendous overview of your company and everything that it does. Now, one of the questions that I have is that I don't know if you know this. I mean, you went to Cal State Fullerton, so you probably do. But
Yes.
a lot of business students over there, come from more, like working class families. But there's also a lot that have family businesses. And so, could you talk with us a little bit about maybe some of the let's just focus on the highlights, maybe some of the lowlights too, of doing that. I mean, it's got to be difficult, like you said. I mean, you're on so it's two different continents, right? So Asia and North America, multiple countries. You're working with is it your dad, your brothers, your uncles, all that?
Dad and brother, basically.
Dad and brother. So you got that. And then to add on more stress, somebody like, myself. So, myself, along with Director Jackson, separate from Cal State Fullerton, we run a small fund. And so we know, personally how much extra stress, getting funding can add on to a situation. So how the heck do you deal with all that? Can you give people tips on how to deal with like a family business and then all the other complications that come on top of it?
Well, I mean, look,
or does it, or is it just good for you?
I mean, the pros outweigh the cons. There's no doubt about that. Having a family business, my father always, when I joined, my brother was already part of this business. He had joined about 4 or 5 years earlier than I did. And my father always, he always teaches one thing, teaches my brother and me the same thing whenever we're alone. He tells us 1 + 1 = 11 in family business. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. And at that time, when I recently joined, I was like, I don't know what this exactly means. And, I would hear it, but, I wouldn't really understand it. As time passed by, I mean, it's been 8 years now. Time has flown. I've realized what he means, and that is the biggest pro that you could say is in a family business. Is that you're not alone, so you get a lot of growth that you could do probably that you couldn't do if you were alone. That's the biggest thing I would say is the pro of a family business, is that the trust factor is so blind and the growth is so exponential if you have the right synergy. But on the same time, I mean, you have to understand when you join a family business, there's the factor of family, which plays a big role. So it's not like dealing with an outsider. It's not like dealing with somebody who, a partner, because you can shut off your phone at 6 p.m. and say, you know what, I'm going to take the call. I'm going to take the next call at 9 a.m. when I go to work. But with family, if my brother calls me at 9 p.m., I don't know if he's calling me for work or if he's calling me for something personal. So I answer the phone, right? And sometimes, or most of the times, it's for work. So there's that factor that always plays it's like you're a bit, you have to work differently than a traditional business. And then I think the biggest thing that I would advise my fellow students or my fellow Cal State alumni, anybody who's listening to this, is that in a family business, you always want to look for, you want your advantages or your strengths to be the other partner's weaknesses, and you want the other partner's strengths to be your weaknesses. So you guys kind of want to create a balance where, if somebody is really good at sales, the other person is really good at, number crunching. If one is, usually this happens, one is a bit short-tempered, the other one's more calmer. One is more long-term, so one is more short-term. I mean, you don't always get the perfect mix, but you want to make it in a way that your both of your strengths, when they multiply, or when you add them up, it's 1 + 1 = 11. And that's the biggest advice I would give to anybody for a family business. Apart from that, it's great. It's really fun. I mean, in the sense, I'll give you an example. When this news came out for funding, it was all over social media. I mean, I think this is probably the 10th or 11th interview I'm giving regarding, family businesses, or, my funding, or whatever, XYZ. And, it's really nice to enjoy that moment with your family. I don't know how I can explain, but, the fact that we achieved a milestone, and the fact that I could, share that moment with my brother and my father, that alone was a very big achievement, and the enjoyment of that was really different than if I would have been alone. I think that, that's an example, but just to tell you, if you do good numbers at the end of the year, you had a really profitable year, or you achieve some, you complete a really big project, or you get to hear a success story from one of your employees. That alone, that sharing that moment with your family and with your blood, it's so much better than being alone. So, I mean, there are benefits like that, and then there are cons, but I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons.
No, that's awesome to hear. And I love the, despite it being against, every rule of math, but the 1 + 1 = 11, that's great. It's like the sum is greater than all of its parts, all that stuff. And I think that, there's an old Irish saying about family business, but I think that what you guys are doing is, pretty amazing. Because, I mean, a lot of family businesses, I mean, especially, that ones that have been around 50, 60 plus years, they start running into problems. But it sounds like you guys have your heads on straight. You're focused on the business and doing well, and that's good. That is awesome that you guys are there. And I mean, just speaking as somebody who has seen, businesses explode. I mean, I think one of the things that you said is absolutely right. I mean, you guys are family. So when your brother calls you at 9 o'clock, you don't know if it's to, something's wrong, something's great with the family, or, hey, Umair, you forgot to do something.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you're going to respond to that in the same way no matter what. So it's great. Exactly. It really works out. So one of the things that we briefly talked about before the interview started was your time over at Cal State Fullerton, and specifically about how business isn't about just balance sheets and all the marketing and all that other stuff, but it's actually about the story and the passion, the values, and the inspiration. Do you have any advice to people, students, anybody who's watching this, about how to be inspired to do this sort of thing, or just give them some words of inspiration about going into a family business and trying to grow something?
Well, I'll tell you this. When I was in Cal State and I was taking it was I think my senior year class, it was the entrepreneurship class, and I was with Professor Jackson. One of the things he did in that semester is that he called in a couple of alumni that had graduated from Cal State, and they were all running their own businesses, and he brought them in, and we kind of did an activity with them for a couple of classes where we worked really close. We did this mentorship, and I got a chance to meet people that had studied in the same classroom as me, studied from that same textbook, same professors, probably the same experiences they went through, or probably similar somewhat. And I got to hear their story, and I got to hear their success, and how their life is now more about giving back rather than trying to reach some goal or reach some target. Usually when you're in university and usually when graduation is close, there's a lot of pressure on you. You know, I mean, you want to be the best. I mean, you've invested 4 years of your life, 5 years of your life, 6 years of your life in studying something, and you want to hit the streets, and you want to juice what you've learned out. So there's a lot of pressure on you to, and it's not like somebody's standing, with a gun pointing to your head, towards your head or something, but it's just this internal pressure that you want to be successful, and meeting people at that time, in that final year, in that moment, and just seeing, I can do this. This is not really that. It's not unimaginable. It's right there. I mean, and just hearing how they, moved, or how they course their lives after graduation, how they achieved that point. It gives you a lot of inspiration. It's kind of like a starting point. And I think for me, for Cal State, that was the biggest role Cal State played for me, is that the experiences outside of classrooms that I got in a university. I think that at the end of the day, everyone's studying the same thing. You could be a marketing major at Cal State, or you could be a marketing major at Harvard. Apart from the fact that the university the branding of the university, it's really the experiences outside the classroom that really change your life, or help you in making you what you are. And that was a big thing for me. So Cal State played that role, and I got to meet those people, and I really, I don't know, I can't find the right word, but I really I used to sit with them for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour after class, just understanding, how they acted in certain situations, what they did, why they choose a certain business, et cetera, et cetera. So another advice I think I could give to my alumni, or, anybody that's watching this, is that you want to take your time in university. You want to learn what you're learning in the classroom, but you want to learn outside the classroom as well. So take your time outside the classroom, really understand from your peers, from your professors, from other alumni, from whatever resources you get, to really, learn from people's experiences. You'd be surprised how, even one story or one experience can change your perspective on what you want to do next. And then, specifically if you're going in a family business, the biggest challenge, or the biggest thing that you want to control, is that you're gonna get. I mean, if you're good at what you do, the biggest challenge is consistency. I think in my generation, or I think the new generation that's coming out of colleges that are graduating, the thing that I see, because I hire a lot of fresh graduates, I hire a lot of graduates in Pakistan, I hire a lot of graduates in the Middle East. I see that the issue with the new generation is consistency. They want immediate results. They want to achieve, 100 quicker than anybody else. And with time, I think I was like that. I guess you could say that at that time. But I realized that there's a learning curve, and there's a certain way of life, and you're going to achieve your growth. You just need to be consistent. You need to be consistent in what you do. You need to be consistent in your efforts, and you want to. Once you achieve growth, or once you achieve success in whatever manner, whatever industry, whatever business, whatever way you wanna gauge that, you want to always manage your time in a way that you don't want to indulge yourself too much into your work. You want to leave time for yourself, me time. You want to give yourself some space for yourself. You want to give space for your family, whatever your priorities are. People do, sports, people do different activities, people socialize. I mean, whatever fits your persona, but you want to give your me time. You want to manage your time, and you want to stay consistent. Don't jump boats. People love to jump industries, or, one day did a business of energy. The second day I did a business of, I don't know, cooking. Third day I did a business of, selling cars. It doesn't work like that. You want to stay consistent in an industry. You want to give it time. You want to take the natural course, and you have a very high chance of reaching success. So that's these are two things that I would give feedback to. I would give feedback to my fellow graduates and anybody who's watching this interview.
Yeah, no, that's really powerful. I mean, I think that for a lot of students, and I was probably part, the same way, young, arrogant, that sort of stuff. So
we're usually, all of us are at that time.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to be, right? Because you don't have that experience, you don't have that body of work, you definitely don't have the wisdom to do this stuff, and there's really no way you could jump the line to get that wisdom. It's just experience. And I think that's, so one thing that I wish maybe I had tried to depart more in my classroom back when I was teaching students at Cal State Fullerton, was that success just doesn't just happen. It's usually based off of a body of work, right? So I mean, there's exceptions to that rule. There's the the singer that just starts singing one day, they get heard by somebody who is high up in a record label, gets a deal. There's like 4 of those in history, right? There's not many. Exactly. Most of the time they were, singing from 4, in the school or in the church choir or something like that. And so they've been singing for over a decade. So yeah, I mean, it takes work. Success isn't just instantaneous. It takes work. So and just, sort of like anything in life, right? I mean, it's just, you have to put in the effort, and it doesn't guarantee your success, but it makes it a lot more possible, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so that's really powerful. I love that. So is there anything else that you want to share with anybody who is watching this? So there's students, people in the community, probably some of the people that talked to you back in the day, that they'll be seeing this and saying, hey, I remember talking with that guy for an hour after class one day. Anything else you would like to share?
No, just to the entire Cal State community, thank you for helping me be who I am today. It wasn't easy. It sounds, I often tell my wife this, that it sounds all fancy. I'm traveling, I'm doing this, I'm going to Dubai, going to LA, I'm jumping between continents, but in reality, it's not easy. It's there are moments when it takes a toll on you, and there are moments when I'm learning even now as I'm growing in the business. I'm learning that there are times it's more money leads to higher stakes. The risks are bigger, the challenges are higher, so the projects are bigger, so much is at stake. So it sounds fancy, and don't get me wrong, I mean, it's nice. I like that fact that we jump and we travel, and I get to meet a lot of new people, and I get to experience a lot of new cultures. It's different when you work in the Middle East, it's different when you work in the US, it's different when you work in Pakistan, but at the end of the day, sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No worries, it happens. So yeah, you were, the last I heard, you were talking about how working in different areas, it's cool working with all the different cultures, but there's also a lot of responsibility that comes with it. And then at the end of the day, and then it cut off like it was just like a perfect cliffhanger.
So at the end of the day, I think it all comes down to, how do you define your success and what do you really want? The biggest factor that changes that makes you either want to continue doing what you're doing or not continue what you're doing is the fact that you enjoy your work. So that's I would say is the thing that everybody should consider, is that whatever they choose, whatever field of work they choose, you want to enjoy what you do. because it gets tiring. It takes a toll on your health. There are lots of challenges, higher risk. So that's the biggest thing. At the end of the day, that's what keeps me running, is the fact that I love what I do. I love the fact that I get to change people's lives. I get to inspire them. I get to work with young graduates, and I get to work with them even outside of work. So it's because what I love. I love what I do. It's not just the fact that it's a family business, but there's a passion that's involved in this. So that keeps me going. So that's the I think the biggest golden ticket that people should look out for when choosing their career.
Yeah, no, I love that. And what your company does, I mean, literally saves lives. I mean, like you're talking about just something as simple, not technically, I'm sure it's complicated. I wouldn't know, I'm not an engineer, but I mean, something as straightforward as like a UPS, right? If the power goes out somewhere in Karachi or Corona at a hospital, because it's attached to a UPS, that ventilator is going to keep on going and keep somebody alive.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. Or and of course there's also more mundane things like keeping the Wi-Fi on it at my house, stuff like that, or keeping the computer on, and also data centers too. But even like data centers, I mean, there's a lot of critical infrastructure that goes through that people don't even think about. So I think that's a big thing for people to keep in mind is, you have to find what your purpose is. You have to find the meaning in your life. And, for some people it's religion, it's family, it's business, it's the community, whatever the case is. If you're working for that, higher goal, that's sort of, something that you have to reach for, that you're maybe never going to completely grasp, but it's something that, could be like your guiding light. That's pretty powerful. And so for yourself, it's working out well. And something else that you said, I think you're absolutely right. A lot of people think that, getting venture capital funding, owning your own business, jet setting across, all over the world. Basically, I mean, we're right now we're talking with a 13-hour time difference, right? So it's almost noon here in Texas. It's almost 11 there in Karachi. They think that's the fun part, and that's a really skewed view of it, right? I mean, so your time is monopolized by stuff that you've chosen that brings you meaning in life. So that's actually even better. But thinking that, owning your own business is going to make your life so much better because you're going to have really fast cars and be able to, have vacations all over the world. That's not the case.
Or the most famous term is be your own boss. I always tell people owning a business means that you should be working the hardest. You should be the first person in the office and the last person leaving the office.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So and the last thing that I really caught on to with what you were talking about was how entrepreneurship and running a business, that's a lot about also the relationships. And so building that, so there's obviously the relationship with your family, of course, but then also with all of your employees, all of your partners, all of your customers, everybody else in the community that you talk to. I mean, just like what we're doing right here, or all the almost dozen other interviews that you've done over the last couple of years. So that's something else that people who are considering starting a business need to keep in mind, is that you're going to actually have to go out and develop those relationships, talk with people, just breaking it down to its barest components. I mean, that's where the opportunities lie. But beyond that, if you are working to like a higher goal, you can develop those relationships and have a positive impact on all those people as well. So it serves a lot of different purposes there. So that's
a lot of my I meet a lot of my former employees, people that I hired, when I initially joined. They left the company, they've grown into other positions, and now I get to meet them. And it's just mind-blowing, because they're always like, what you taught us back in 2017, we took it with us, and you know, we've reached, you know, XYZ position, or, you know, we're doing this, we're doing our own business. It really brings an impact on you, because you're like, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm just doing a business, but you know, that's pretty cool. I could change people's lives as well. So it's really rewarding in that sense.
Absolutely. Umair, I could talk with you for hours. I'm sure the next time that both of us find ourselves out in California, we should probably get together and say hello.
Definitely. Definitely.
But thank you very much, sir, for taking your time out of your busy schedule. Now go to sleep. I know it's late.
Pleasure is all mine. The pleasure is all mine, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.